Okay, let's see if we can get a game here. Actually, there's a someone looking for a game. Let's see if he's interested in playing. Fourth file rook enthusiast. Maybe I'll try playing a static rook. Here we go, we got a game. Let's zoom in, let's say hello. Starts with the bishop. Moving the pawn in front of the bishop, opening up the bishop's diagonal, I mean. So when I'm playing fourth file rook, yeah, I close the diagonal and bring the rook over here. Yeah, so static rook here. Oh, it goes for third file rook. I've not seen this much. There's some trick. Here, let's defend the bishop. Add another defender to the bishop. And start to castle the king. Maybe I can set up a Yagura castle. Although, let's see, does a Yagura make any sense in this situation? I mean, I don't need the silver here. To stop the rook pawn from going, but, well, it's near the king, I guess. Let's get halfway there. And then we'll start pushing on this side, see what he wants to do here. Okay, defends with the bishop. Yeah, let's bring the silver out. Okay, looks like he's setting up a Mino castle over on this side. Yeah, that's the way I normally play it. I was trying to remember, is that the normal side for the Mino castle? But yeah, it is. So, let's see, a pin along this file and a knight drop here. I mean, pin on this diagonal and knight drop here. And that's how you can break it. One of the ways to break it. Let's see, where's my bishop to get to that diagonal? It has to move. Okay, let's finish my castle. So I've sort of got a half snow roof castle. And yeah, let's push this pawn too, so the bishop has an open diagonal here to come out on. If I want to do that. Okay, what's that? I'm not sure what the plan is, but I'm going to bring my knight up, maybe. Ask about how he's defending that pawn. He did open the bishop's diagonal. Okay, he pushed his rook pawn. Yeah, let's bring the knight up. Push the lance pawn, I mean. So it would take 2 moves with my bishop and 2 moves with my king, and I'd be... No, I'm not quite in a Yagura castle. This silver goes over here, and this gold goes where the silver is. So it's not so easy to get to a Yagura castle from here, at least not the exact setup. Okay, so he didn't bother to defend the pawn, but he did move his bishop. Okay, let's move the lance pawn. I was just realizing he opened up his rook file, but my silver is still guarding this square, so it's not so easy for him to open up this third file here. His bishop is looking at my silver. Interesting, but it's defended by the rook at the moment. So if I push one of these pawns, either one, it's not so easy for me. If I take here, he can maybe get a pawn in hand and drop it, or maybe just move a silver up, and I don't have any good forward moves for my knight, so I don't think there's anything great to be gained by winning that pawn. Okay, let's look at the lance file. Push, push. He takes, lance takes. He can drop. I take, lance takes. I can drop a pawn. I guess I can eventually open this up. See, and yeah, actually I can push this pawn and be attacking here and also attacking his lance in the corner. But well, the lance won't be in the corner anymore after this exchange. Oh, he just took. Sometimes they drop a pawn first to get your lance back, but this is okay, I think. Yeah, you know what he can do? He can promote. He can promote here. Bishop to this square and promote to a horse, and then it's also attacking the rook. So maybe I should have prevented that, but in any case he dropped a pawn. And I see I have a lance in hand, he has a lance in hand. And I have a pawn in hand, but only one file to drop it on. Let's see, I could drop the pawn here. He could take here, he could take. Okay, so I moved his silver up to maybe come out over here, push a pawn forward. Yeah, I was wondering about dropping a lance over here. Like pawn forward, pawn takes, and then I drop a lance here. He just drops a pawn. What to do here? I'm going to maneuver my bishop to this diagonal. Oh, he was thinking of moving his knight. Yeah, he went ahead and did that first. So maybe I should have put my bishop directly here on that diagonal, because the way I did it, it takes 2 moves to get there. So anyway, yeah, this pawn is well supported, but I don't really want to let him just take here. I could retreat my silver, perhaps, but then it's loose over here. I could trade silvers and see how he takes back. I think I can just drop a silver here after he takes back, whether he takes back with the bishop or the rook, because the silver is defended, it's attacking his bishop. He could sacrifice the bishop for a silver and a knight and get a promotion. I could drop a lance here. Drop a lance, hitting the bishop. It's not got any targets along this diagonal. A little bit of serendipity there. Yeah, he attacks my rook. So I take his rook, he takes mine. He's attacking this knight. And he has a rook he can drop. But I'm also attacking this gold and this knight, because I'll take here and promote. So it pretty much has to take my rook, I think. So I can save the knight by taking here. Maybe it's useful. But this looks like a free gold here. I think I should take that. I think it's worth more. And then after that, he will have a rook, a lance, and a silver that he can drop, and a knight. King's knight drops are guarded. The rook drop here, I step up or drop down. Could get awkward for me here. And of course I have rook drops too. Could drop a rook to start with. Do I have any really great rook drops? I don't see them. I think I take the gold. That will at least give me some squares over here where I could conceivably drop a rook. Drop a rook here, and maybe a silver here to attack. Yeah, and he gets the knight. Okay, now I can drop the rook here, attacking his horse. Keep him occupied. And then setting up a pin along the second row there. So he drops a rook with check, yeah. Okay, yeah, it's getting tricky. He's got, he could drop a silver here. I am just realizing he can drop a silver there. Because his horse is looking at it. So even though his horse is hanging, as long as he does stuff with check, I'm in trouble. But after he drops a silver, my king runs here. Does he have another check after that? He has bishop here, knight here. That's it that I see. Well, I'll see how this works out. He can move the silver back also. Silver back to check. My bishop is hitting his silver. My rook is hitting his horse. Oh, I think it's close to a mate. So I can't run out. Well, I should look at the checks. I mean takes. Gold takes, rook takes, and promotes to a dragon, and that is mate. So by the process of elimination, I must go here. He can repeat. Actually, this is one of those cases where the forced repetition rule works in my favor. If he forces a repetition, then he loses. Or he could move here and promote to, move his rook here and promote it to a dragon. I went there. Okay, that I will take, I believe. It might be forced. So that was all with tricks, all with checks, so I haven't had time to take his horse here. And that is mate. Look at that. Yeah, I was thinking he couldn't check me here because I have this covered, but he checks me here by promoting. So he covers this way and this way. So good game. Well played, Mr. Correal. And we'll check this out. See what Elmo has to think of it. Okay, let's zoom back out. Give him a good manner. Well, you can see by the graph here that my opponent gave me some chances. Oh, the bars above the line are when my opponent is winning, and below the line is when I'm winning. So he had chances to get back in the game, even very close to the end there, but somehow I missed those key opportunities. Anyway, let's take a look at the game. I'm going to go through the opening kind of quick. One thing I will say is that my opponent is playing this third file rook strategy. Let's see if I can put an arrow on the board. And I'm just not familiar with this strategy. I don't think I faced it once or twice, but I just don't have a good idea what to play against it. So if anyone has any suggestions, I'd be happy to know what to do. But anyway, let's continue. And it seems like it was okay up to here. I mean, slight edge to Sente, but nothing great. But this silver climb that I played seems to be a mistake. What does Elmo want me to play instead? Wants me to move my king. Yeah, my king was not as safe there as I thought it would be. This snow roof castle is usually considered pretty solid, but yeah, maybe this was a time to run. There's other opportunities later to run, so let's get to that where it's more critical. because it's still not game over, especially at this level. This is just something that goes on. I mean, this kind of advantage can go back and forth pretty easily. And you can see right here, my exchange here of the taking the pawn here was a blunder. And what should I play instead? It says I should move my pawn 8e to 8f. You know, I kept wanting to play this move, but he just takes. I wasn't quite sure what the follow-up was. So, yeah, I never quite figured that one out. But it does open up this file for my rook. So maybe that's the main idea there. Let's clear that. So anyway, I took, I pushed the pawn and I took with the lance because I couldn't figure out how to open up the rook file. So I pushed on the edge file there, and that's a mistake. And let's see, he takes, I take back. That's all normal, but he's got a good move here, and he should play pawn 7f to 7e. Yeah. So one of the things he set up here that I was not paying complete attention to was this coordination with the rook and the bishop, and now he can just push that pawn forward and just break through on the third file. So that looks pretty good for my opponent. Instead, he didn't play the strongest move there. He continued to he pushed, he dropped a pawn here instead of pushing on the third file there. So I dropped back, and things are somewhat okay. I had noticed there was this idea here already to bring the bishop into my camp. So that's one clue that something has gone wrong here. I have to worry about this threat all the time because he can come here and promote with tempo because it'll be hitting my rook as well. So it's bad to have that kind of thing in the position, I think. Looks bad for me. But it's not game over yet. Let's see, the game continues for a while. I'm maneuvering my pieces around that. He finally did get the idea of pushing his rook pawn, the pawn in front of his rook on the third file there. That was good. And I kept exchanging, and then he took. What is the... he took with the bishop. Yeah, so the Elmo wants to take with the rook. And I guess I'm not sure how... If I just drop a silver there, maybe the rook goes back, but then the bishop can take the silver and he can take here. Stuff could happen. So, yeah, I was a little bit worried about that. And then I spotted this idea with the lance drop. Yeah, so if the rook is there, then I can't drop the lance. So I think maybe that's the main reason why I should take with the rook. He could retreat the rook afterwards. But now I have this lance drop, and this kind of evens things up. But it does not give me the advantage. During the game, I was feeling pretty optimistic after this. But he has this move to come into my camp and promote and attack my rook. So I couldn't find anything better than taking his rook. Does Elmo suggest anything? No, it says I should take. So we get this trail of destruction here. He takes my rook, and then I keep taking. I take his gold, and he takes my knight. And I'm up a little bit of material, but he's in my camp, and Elmo thinks it's balanced here. I immediately dropped a rook here to attack his... I immediately dropped a rook in order to attack his horse and set up a pin along the second file, second rank, which is normally pretty strong. But this is the moment. There's a Shogi proverb that... if you move, a move by the king in time can save you 10 moves later or something like that. And this is the time. So right now, if I start running with my king can run like this to here and to here. And so completing my castle, or getting my king over to the side. And I'm not sure what kind of castle it is. It's not a Yagura because the bishop is here instead of the silver. But anyway, it's some kind of castle, and it'd be a little bit harder for him to break through. So that was what I needed to play right here. And instead, I dropped a rook. And he could drop his rook at 7a. He dropped it at 6a. It's interesting that the rook at 7a is a lot stronger. I'm not quite sure I understand why. Let's see. I ran up with my king. Oh, I know why. It's because if I had played gold, I could have played the gold back. Yeah, I wasn't seeing that the bishop was defending that square. I missed that completely. That I had the bishop here defending that square. I thought if I moved the gold back, he could just take it. So I was being not fully aware of what was going on there. So I could move my rook back to defend that way, and then his rook has to move. If it's on 6a, it has to move. If it's on 7a, it can stay there, and he can bring another piece in. So that's why dropping at 7a is stronger. Okay, but he dropped at 6a, and then I didn't see that I could defend, and I ran with my king. And now it's pretty dangerous. He dropped a silver here. But this actually gives me one more chance to run. And, I was still thinking his rook was preventing me from coming back. But, of course, it's not anymore. The silver's in the way. So what I can do is I can run with my king like this. And then when the silver moves, I can run back here. Once again, get my king to safety. And actually, with the move king to 4b, if I had from 4b to 3a, if I had played that move, this is the one chance where I would be at an advantage in the game in Elmo's estimation. So yeah, very important to run your king at the right time and in the right direction. So several opportunities I had to run away with my king, and I missed them. And now I think this is pretty much over. Although there was one more place here where I could have done something different and not gotten mated. I thought this was pretty much a forced mate here. But let's see. Well, that was the correct move, running back. Pretty much the only move. And then he moved his over there and promoted. And now what did I do? I took with the gold, and that led to a mate in 1. I could have taken with the king. And if I take with the king there, this is once again just about even. You can see that tiny little bar there. So taking with the king would have allowed the game to continue. But I took with the gold. And, I was just thinking the gold could drop back to block any checks along this file. And I saw the silver would be protecting the gold, or I could bring the silver back. But I was forgetting about the move that he played, which is just to move the rook over one space and promote to a dragon. Now I'm in check, and his rook is guarding the escape square. So it's a nice little mate in 1. Anyway, like I said, I had chances in that game, but I failed to take advantage of them, and that's what happens. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.